Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Rotor Talk Live, Season 3, Episode 8, Zeno 2 Woes, Mavic 2 Resurgence, and Smart Controller Anniversary. Marcus, how are you this evening?
Darn good, Bill. Darn good. How are you?
I'm doing absolutely fine. We're waiting. Ron should be joining us shortly as well. We got a good show tonight. We got a lot lined up. But one of the first things that I want to share, and I don't know, it's kind of I don't know. I don't want to use the word humorous, but I think it's kind of a sign of the times kind of a thing. And I want to put this up here. And this was a gentleman that actually got his Zeno. Here's Ron. Ron, how are you this evening, sir?
Good. Sorry I'm late, guys.
Not a problem. Not a problem.
We won't hold it against you this time, Ron.
Okay.
Not this time.
I'll give me a detention.
Well, I'm getting ready to share a picture, Ron, and I don't know if it's kind of a sign of the times kind of a thing. And I don't want to look at it as humorous, but I think it, let me just go ahead and share the screen here.
Like show and tell here?
Yeah, kind of like show and tell. Okay, now it was posted on my Zeno 2 page. You can see in writing, it says Hubsan on here, but you notice what's right next to it?
Oh, they're decontaminating.
Decontaminating Lysol.
Yeah.
Well, actually, in all seriousness, when my computer comes on Friday, I got Lysol wipes ready to go. And I'm going to wipe it down as soon as I get it and then throw them out and wash my hands afterwards. I mean, that's the protocol that I think that they're saying. And, it's like, there's different schools of thought, like it'll survive on surfaces for 14 days, but they're talking like glass, wood, metal. Nobody said anything about cardboard. All right. And I think with the temperature extremes and everything coming over, on FedEx planes, they're kept in a cargo hold where it's probably super cold inside there, probably maybe even below zero. I don't see, chances are slim to none that we're going to pick up anything from this. But I kind of thought this is like a sign of the times, and it's going to lead us into our first topic about the Zeno 2 woes. And this, I don't want to call this a woe, but I think it's a precaution, and I think it's a wise precaution that everybody should take.
Hey, Bill, I've got a question.
Yes.
So I've got my new desktop computer coming tomorrow. Now it's coming from California. Should I do those same procedures with it?
I would too, just for grins and giggles, because if it's gone through, is it coming FedEx?
It's coming UPS.
Okay, UPS still. UPS gets things from China, so yeah, I would do the same. I would just get Lysol wipes and just wipe it down thoroughly, and then throw them out and wash your hands. That's what I would do.
And get one of those little masks.
Yeah, that they may start becoming a little scarce to find here.
But on a serious note, Bill, do we know if the coronavirus? Do we know if it's passed mostly by physical contact, or is it an airborne type of thing?
They're saying like airborne, respiratory, like you get it in your eyes and in your nose, from people sneezing and coughing, kind of a thing. Is usually how that's transmitted. Okay. And they're saying really SARS. I was doing a lot of reading on that today. It's, and I don't want to turn this into a coronavirus show tonight, but just real briefly, they were saying, as far as it lasting on surfaces, and I don't know if you were around for this part, Ron, but they were talking like a matter of 9 days, but they were talking like wood, metal, plastic, that type of thing. They weren't talking cardboard at all. So, with shipments coming in, taking either, Lysol wipes or, spraying it with a can of Lysol before you open it up. I would probably do the Lysol wipes. That way that cardboard isn't going to get soaked and you won't damage anything. But
how about this? Get, open the box up with a pair of rubber surgical gloves and, removing the item from the box and then disposing of the box in your recycle bin before you even do anything else.
Yeah, that's probably a wise precaution as well, too. I mean, what I'll probably do is take the box out to the garage and wipe it down with another Lysol wipe, because that would be the way, like for when my computer comes, in case there's an issue, I have to have a box to send it back in. So,
right.
that would be how I would do it. So enough of the coronavirus talk and everything. Let's greet some people. Mike Kinney's in, DeMarco's in, Steve Dawson is in, Tony Faz is in, Brad Hendo is in, RC Master is in, Larry Boggs is in, and I know I saw Art in. Okay. All right. We're going to start out with Zeno 2 Woes, okay? And, you know, there's a couple of things going on right now. Let's ask Marcus, what's your status with your Zeno 2?
Well, I am actually checking as we speak right now. I'm clicking on FedEx right this moment, and no change. So I got the shipping notice from Gearbest on Valentine's Day on Friday the 14th, and we are 11 days later now on the 25th, and no change. So
okay,
yeah, that's kind of where that's at. But you know, hopefully we'll see it soon.
Ron, what's your status?
Well, I checked updates. You know, I checked the stats this morning, and no change at all. But I did get a message from our friend Greg Pittman today, and Greg said that he contacted Gearbest about his order. They said it would be between the 26th and the 2nd he should receive it. And I don't exactly know what his his purchase date was, but I think he's in the same kind of area that we are. So that's the message he got from Gearbest, and we know how reliable those Gearbest communications are, right, Bill?
Oh yeah, they're stellar customer service who will tell you
when they tell you a date, you can just lock it in, right? Take it to the bank, yeah.
Yes, that it's like one story one day, one story the next. I think they pass around stories to tell customers every day. I think that goes around. Yeah, everything.
But I said this a long time ago. I think what'll happen is we'll see, like Marcus, I'll see our the tracking number just there, not doing anything, because the pack only the labels in Chino, California. The drone's on a ship someplace. So when we do see that tracking information update, that probably means we're only a couple days away from getting it shipped to us, because by that time it's arrived in the U.S. They put the label in the box and they've given it to FedEx. So again, that's when it'll show up in the system as moving. And again, I think we'll be days away at that point. So I think that's what we're waiting for. Now, the prediction of what time the Zeno 2 will get the slow boat from China and get in that shipping center and get the label on it, who knows? But once that happens, I think things will go quickly.
Well, in all seriousness, who knows what kind of delays happen in China? In other words, they sent that shipping information to FedEx. We know they're having issues over there. Did it ship when they gave us that message?
My guess, Marcus, is when we get that message, that meant that it was put in the boat. It was put in a slow boat from China. That's what I'm thinking that sparked that message.
Yeah, maybe so.
So, but again, everybody, we're this is all total speculation on our part. We don't have any inside information. We're
operating in a vacuum.
Yes, we are total guesswork here, total speculation. And so, Bill, what's going on with your Hubsan direct order of 2?
Well, yeah, that's that's another story, and I'm going to share it right now. This past weekend, our good friend Josh from Parks and Tech informed me, that he had gotten a shipping notice from FedEx because he had ordered second Zeno 2 directly from Hubsan. So it got me to start to thinking, and over the weekend, I ended up making the decision to cancel my order with Gearbest, and I ordered direct from Hubsan. Now, Hubsan's price was $499 for the drone with one battery and no bag, but for $550, you can get the drone with the bag and 2 batteries. So I went ahead and went that route. Well, Josh posted today he will definitely be getting his tomorrow. Now, it took he ordered it like February 11th or so, I believe. It's something about maybe like 11 to 12 days since he ordered it. He's probably going to get it's probably I would probably safe to say about 2 weeks. And
Josh, his is arriving tomorrow.
Yes, his is arriving tomorrow. And I got an email. I had emailed Hubsan, and they emailed me back and said that mine should ship on March 1st. That was a direct communication from Hubsan. No, no flowery answers, no, time span, no 7 to 14. They March 1st, okay, is what they're saying. And I believe them, okay?
Hey, Bill, so
yeah.
in the chat here, Drone Dude 77 is saying that he ordered his on December 17th, shipping notice on February 13th. So I just want to add to that. I actually ordered mine on December 11th, and I didn't get my shipping notice until February 14th. So, and Ron ordered his after mine, and he got his shipping notice like 3 days before I did. So I guess the point that I'm trying to make is that tells you that there's no rhyme nor reason to what Gearbest is doing with those orders.
Because I ordered mine on the 17th.
It doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, I ordered mine on the 17th, and I was like, okay. And then I saw people posting on ZinoNation group and on my Zeno group, that they were getting theirs and they ordered it after mine. I'm like, what is this stuff? Okay, it wasn't making any sense. But I will say this in Gearbest's defense, all right. You have to, and I learned this. If you want to cancel your order with Gearbest, and this is for advice for anybody that's considering doing it, file a ticket with them. Because if you tell them when you chat via their customer service, it's going to get lost in the conversation, okay? They won't really do it. File a ticket. It will happen. And sure enough, within 24 hours of my filing a ticket, okay, not only was my request approved, but I got my money. It was in my account today. Metro Drones, thank you for the super chat. Thank you very much, my friend. Really appreciate that. So that's the way. That's one thing that Gearbest did right. Okay, they were able to cancel it well. I mean, and this leads the whole question to this. Okay, were they intending for? Did they kind of figure X number of customers are going to cancel their orders? Because that $399 price was a real steal. Were they waiting for this, and then in order to release some more of their drones because they didn't want to sell them at $399? Who knows? You know what I'm saying? It could be that they wanted to try to get so many people to cancel for this.
Well, I don't know about that, Bill, but I'll tell you what you did was smart because I think you got a really good deal. The way that worked, ordered direct from Hubsan, getting that battery and the case for $549. I'm trying to remember what Gearbest originally offered that same combo before was, but I think it was more than that.
So yeah, it was more than that.
You ended up with a better deal, and you have more satisfaction in knowing when your drone is going to ship. So, good move.
Stephen Ewing, his Zeno 2's confirmed for this March 2nd.
Great.
That's great. That is great. That's
but that's an interesting theory, Bill. And so Gearbest is they're probably waiting around for Marcus side, hoping. I hope those two guys cancel their orders so we could sell this thing for $499 instead of $399. And they finally gave up. They said those darn stubborn guys, they just won't cancel whatever. We'll have to go ahead and throw them a bone, throw them some kind of notification.
Best points.
Yeah, those guys aren't going to cancel. Now, Bill, did you make any progress in getting them to include an extra battery or a case for the people who had to wait a long time?
Well, I'm still waiting to hear. The jury's still out on that. Well, I shared on ZinoNation, and I'm going to share with everybody tonight. The only way I'm going to do business with Gearbest again is if when I go ahead and place my order for, say, the Zeno Pro 2 or the Zeno 3,
right?
What I'm going to want is buy one, get one free like they have at Publix, okay? Because that would be the only way I'm going to order from Gearbest again. They have just, granted, and I understood this because Marcus, you foretold this. You said, you with good reason, when you did your FEMI X8 and it took 4 months for you to get it, you said, be aware of this. This is, and Ron too. Be aware of this. This is how these companies operate. It's not like DJI. It's not like Parrot. It's not like other drone companies. It's
Amazon.
Yeah. It's a whole different ballgame the way things are over there.
Well, but Bill, you're giving DJI too much credit. I ordered directly from DJI for the Mavic Mini, and I was the last one to get it or whatever. So you have to take back your kudos. I
got to give kudos to Best Buy on that because
let me add, Ron. Bill was pretty sneaky on that one too. He canceled right away and went to Best Buy, and he had it before either of us.
And here he's talking about how good DJI is and fulfilling orders. He bailed on their last major release of a drone. In fact, their only release of a drone in how long, Bill?
Since August of 2018.
So I mean, here it's hard to give kudos to a company that's released one drone and going on like 18, 19 months now, right?
Yeah, well, and I'll say this, and I'm not defending them, but remember, I think they did not plan for the number of orders that they were going to get. How they got absolutely swamped with orders is what I believe happened, because it rang true of what happened with the original Mavic Pro, Mavic Pro 1. They did not figure that there would be that kind of a demand. The demand far exceeded the supply, and people were waiting. I mean, it was, you ordered it in October. People weren't getting them till after Christmas, early January. I mean, from that. So you would have think that and plus, as I've stated before, in order to combat this, instead of just having the one distribution center out in California, they built one over New Jersey, they built one in Atlanta, in Chicago, so they had multiple points of distribution for that. But yeah, I will. But conversely speaking, with a Mavic 2 Pro, it was and I know Marcus can attest to this. I had mine within 8 days after ordering it. Okay.
I had mine from I ordered it that day that they introduced it, and in 4 days it was sitting on my front door.
Yeah, mine in 8, which I was ecstatic about.
Yeah.
So the bottom line is, in their last 2 major releases for drones, they're batting 500.
They're batting 500.
Good job on, and the other one, you remember the Mavic Mini. If you ordered from DJI, if you ordered later on that day, you were as good at a month later.
Yeah, you were.
The shipping times moved back a whole month if you just waited a couple hours.
They're still having problems fulfilling Mini orders, and that drone is so popular. Ron, you said it the other day. It's no doubt going to be their best-selling drone of the year, and maybe
the best-selling drone of 2020, and it won't even be close.
Maybe even of all time.
Yeah,
but like I said, you try buying a Mini battery right now. They're
non-existent, huh?
Yeah. So the point of it is, to Bill's point, is there was phenomenal demand for that drone, and So,
but I mean, we all kind of knew that, right? I mean, why do things that just a couple guys, not just our show, but people just sit around having YouTube shows. Why do they know that? And a company that probably does millions of dollars in market research doesn't know that. That's my question.
Maybe they did.
Well, I like what Stephen Ewing said. You guys should buy in bulk and sell through your channel.
We've already discussed that. We could call it. Let's see here. BMR Imports.
Yeah, there you go.
I don't know if I put B and M right close together, but whatever, Ron.
I'll go BRM or something.
I want to point out what Lauren is saying here. He's saying that the Mavic Mini battery is not available to anyone yet.
Okay. Well, the other part of the Zeno woes that I want to talk about, and you've probably seen it, it's apparent, and we saw it in Bermuda Bob's video with the sun, and let's call lens distortion, for lack of a better term. Would that accurately describe it, guys?
I guess it would, but I don't think it's lens. I don't think there's any, I mean, without having the drone in my hands, I don't think any of that stuff we see could be fixed by settings or putting a filter on. I think it's some kind of a processing software issue. But again, I don't have my hands. I'm just totally guessing.
Marcus, what are your thoughts?
Well, yeah. So those flares that we're seeing on some of those videos. I mean, obviously we get them in the Mavic Mini as well. Maybe not quite as bad, but I guess. Boy, don't fly directly into the sun. I saw a video today of Peter Martin. He was actually trying to make a sunshade to go over to the lens on his, and he's going to do some testing and see how that works. But yeah, there's no question you're seeing enough people that are having those lens flares that something's going on there. But the flip side of that coin is what we saw with L3 Toys. And I don't know what kind of post-processing he's doing or where he's setting his adjustments when he's flying. But he had somewhere he was looking into the sun that didn't look as bad. So I mean, I don't know.
His L3 Toys is his Mavic 2. His camera seems to be a lot better than anybody else's. Again, those lens flares and just the total overexposure. I mean, you can only change that so much in post or whatever.
I'm also wondering too, and this is just and I don't know if Bermuda Bob posted in his video what he was shooting. Was he 4K 30, 4K 60? Was he doing 1080p? Because something like that might make a difference in terms of with the shutter speed and frame rate and things like that. It could make a difference with that. But I think and I think one of you two mentioned I think Marcus not flying directly into the sun, because that was one of the first things that I learned when I got the Mavic Pro, and I went out to a Facebook group, and one of them said when you're trying to do like a sunset, don't fly directly in the sun. Fly askew to it. Fly maybe 5 to 10 degrees in one of the directions. That way you won't, number one, you won't damage the camera or the lens system in there, and you won't get that distortion that
you won't blow it out. Yeah.
Yeah. It won't get blown out. And it worked. I mean, because the first time I did a sunset, I was going straight at it and it looked horrible. But then, because, I wanted to learn, I said, what's the best way of, filming suns? And somebody said, when you fly towards it, make sure that you're at a either 5-degree angle either side or 10-degree angle either side. That way you can capture it real well. So, the jury's kind of out, until we get them in our hands and we're able to get them up. That's one thing. Also too, and this is some food for thought. All right. L3 Toys is in Malaysia, and, we've all commented how wonderful and green and lush that scenery is down there. I mean, it's, the colors are very vivid. And I think that's one thing that we've all seen from the Zeno 2 on L3 Toys' videos, which is fantastic. But also to remember where the sun is at this time of year. It's for us in the Northern Hemisphere, the sun's in a different position than it is down in Malaysia. So, that could play into it too. I'm not trying to provide excuses or anything. I'm just trying to look at some things here and have some schools of thought behind this until we get this in.
Hey, Bill, Lauren makes a really good comment there that I think is true, and I've read about that before as well. So lens coatings can make a difference. Pardon me. And DJI does a pretty good job with that. I suspect that on a $399 drone, we're not going to see the lens quality that we would on the equivalent DJI product.
Probably.
Yeah, good comment. I really don't know, how expensive putting a good, coat on a lens is. It's not like it's gonna, be unaffordable to somebody, but who knows? It could be. I mean, it could be so many reasons, but I'm leaning towards the ballpark that it's software, because we know the Zeno 1 camera looked terrible when we first got it. And everybody said you had to physically, focus the lens and, do all these physical changes to the camera lens. And as we found out, it was all software related. And memory card speed related.
Yeah.
Well, and one of the other things that I kind of wanted to touch upon before we switch gears here with the Zeno 2, and we need to remember this. It's early in it hasn't had a really very wide distribution yet. So until more of people like us get it in their hands, we really can't be able to pass a whole lot of judgment on it. But one of the things that encouraged me was, I think I read in one of Bermuda Bob's comments on how great it flies. Okay. Yeah. And I think I read this in a couple other places. So I think that's really encouraging. And I know Blue Skyver had talked about how well it flies for him, and he's been in adverse conditions. So I think, that's some encouraging news, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. And another point too, it's just getting in people's hands, and most people's hands is getting to live in cold weather climates where the conditions of flying aren't good. So that's another kind of negative that people aren't getting it out in what would you call optimum flying conditions. Most people are taking it out in snow, cloudy weather, adverse conditions.
Yeah, and having adverse conditions right now and doing that, you're going to get things like lens flare. You're going to get distortion. You're going to get other type of issues that you wouldn't normally face. So, and I think, like I said, I think until we get them in our hands and, more reviewers get them in our hands, we can't really kind of pass judgment on this until that happens. But, it's some school of thought, and one of the other things here before we end this, a lot of people were talking about, a filter. Well, I don't think a filter is going to take care of this kind of issue. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, I don't know enough about lens filters to know. Ron could probably answer that better. I do know that those shades that people put on their lenses seem to work. I've seen that work before. Ron probably knows more about filters than either you or I, Bill.
Well, yeah, I would definitely. He's the Jedi master of that.
Well, an ND filter, ND filters, just to slow the shutter down, so you can see more motion blur, and purposely, changing the allowing the shut the shutter speed slow. I don't know if it can cure a lot of the issues we've seen. I don't know if that's the cure all. And of course, there's a circular polarizer filter, which could cut down a lot of light coming through. So that could possibly help with some of the lens filter that is cutting down light that's coming in. Even a combination, probably the best would be an circularized polar and an ND filter. And that could help. But again, these things aren't miracle cures. If your camera's not, doing what it's supposed to be doing, they're not going to be a one size fits all miracle cure. They may help a little bit, but yeah, not the whole thing. Bill, did you see that Lauren must have something to say? He wanted to invite.
Yeah, I'm working on that right now.
And when we get Lauren in here, I have an Ask the Bill the drone reviewer question for you, a technical question. When we get an opportunity.
Go ahead and send an invite to Lauren here.
Yeah, I had a little issue flying my Mavic 2 Pro over the weekend. I'd like to run it by you.
Okay. Well, that's a great segue for this next segment, because we're talking, we're talking about a Mavic 2 Resurgence here. So Go ahead with your question, Ron.
Okay, I'm sorry to hijack the show here, but we'll call this the Ask the Bill segment of the show. Okay, now I took my Mavic 2 Pro out this weekend. I took it to a semi-rural area in Cape May, New Jersey, southern point of New Jersey, near the lighthouse. And again, it was homes around, but I wouldn't call it a heavily infested Wi-Fi area. And the park's kind of the lighthouse is in kind of a state park, so you weren't allowed to fly there. So I flew like a distance to get a shot from a distance, not outside the park. But anyhow, to make the long story short, so I take it out a little over a mile. Man, it's flying beautifully. I mean, I got there in just a couple minutes. FPV signal was rock solid. It was looking great. So I'm up there. I'm kind of doing some manual half circles again. No FPV breakup whatsoever. And all of a sudden, like, it goes, it froze and then it went to nothing, right? so I had no FPV signal whatsoever. But of course, I had my, return to home, and I could, on your controller, and I use the Smart Controller, which doesn't have any bearing in the story. Really. You just hit that map thing, you just see where it is on the map. So, but I hit return to home, and it came back, no issues at all. Even though I took it out a mile, it didn't land directly in the middle of the pad, but it got 3 legs on the pad from a mile out. But I never recovered the FPV, the whole way back. It never came back until I, landed the drone and started back up again. I would have thought that I got a little bit closer, I'd have regained the signal to it, but it never did. So have you ever experienced anything like this with the
No.
Or do you have any ideas of what could have gone wrong? Did I do anything wrong? Now, I didn't want to do anything crazy like turn the controller off or unplug wires, because I knew it was going to come home, because I could still see the map and I still had complete control of the RSC. The only thing I was missing was the FPV feed. But
that's very
was perfect.
That's very odd. I think the only thing that I'm going to ask this question: is that a working lighthouse?
Yes, but I wasn't close, I wasn't close enough to even. If it had any type of signals going out, I wasn't close enough to be that interference with the lighthouse.
Okay. Now I'm gonna relay a story to you. Original Jobo Ken Dono and I were flying by the Sunshine Skyway Bridge last year, and I had got the same. I had the same kind of issue with that, and there were a lot of boats that were out there. And Ken surmised, he said, we're getting interference, because he was using his Smart Controller with his Mavic 2 as well, and he was getting some interference. Now, it didn't completely break up my screen, but it was super choppy. And I said, you know what? I said, both he and I would just hit return to home to get home in that situation, because it was just the feed was unreliable. So maybe there could have been some boats or something out there, or some kind of communication going on.
I was near water. I was up 200 feet, but I was near water. But but the odd thing was that when I brought it back closer, when I was 10 feet in the air, I still didn't regain the FPV signal. So that's what I found more odd than losing FPV for momentarily when I was near some kind of interference.
Hey, Ron, Bob in the chat is saying that he had exactly the same thing happen with the Smart Controller. I'll bet Lauren might have a comment on that.
Sorry, I missed part of the conversation. I was dealing with some chat here. What was the issue?
Well, Lauren, hello, Lauren. Thanks for dropping in on us tonight. It's great to have you on here with us. I said I took a flight this weekend. I'll make the story even faster with a Mavic 2 Pro. I flew a little bit further than a mile away from me, and I was in kind of a rural area. There was homes around, but I definitely wasn't in a hi-fi, a high Wi-Fi contaminated area. And I was flying to a lighthouse, and I never got that close to the lighthouse. I was always couple 100 feet away from it, even when I was taking a picture of it. But at one point, when I was just a little bit more of an mile out, I lost FPV. It froze at first, and then I lost it completely. So I still had total control of the drone RC wise. Like I could switch the map and I could see it, and I did return to home. I was no issue. I never lost control of the drone, but I never got FPV back. Even when I was only 10 feet away from me, the FPV signal would just not come back until I landed it and then restarted everything. And I've never seen it happen with the Mavic 2 Pro. I've seen it the FPV break up, but then come right back again as soon as I moved a little bit, but I never saw it froze and never regain it no matter how close it got to me. Have you ever heard of anything like that, Lauren?
Well, actually, I was out this weekend, and I had some very interesting things I've never had before either. Strong magnetic interference in places there was absolutely no possibility of it. And I was getting signal breakup, and yet all the ratings showed great. So I don't know what happened this weekend, but maybe you got hit with the same thing.
I do want to mention to folks out there, when I got home, I checked, the drone, and I was on the latest firmware for the drone and the latest firmware on the Smart Controller. So it wasn't that I was an older version of firmware. I didn't know that at the time, but I knew it when I got home, and then there were no updates waiting for me.
Well, Ridgefire makes a good comment there. That's very possible. And Tony Fast says the same thing.
Lance Parkhurst just said, happened to me yesterday. Closed the app and restarted. FPV came right back up. Flight log was split into 2 flights.
Yeah, I could have done that, but I was kind of like, I was just kind of afraid because I was a mile out. I knew I had total control of the drone as it was, so I wasn't scared of not getting the drone back. So I didn't want to risk it just to get FPV, because I didn't really need FPV because I kind of got the photos that I wanted anyways. So I mean, I didn't care that I didn't have it coming back, but I mean, it just struck me as odd because I've never seen anything like that with that drone before.
Well, you did right, because whenever something like that happens, it's like you just be calm and cool, return to home and get it back and live to fight another day. And,
absolutely,
it's always a peace of mind to have that bird back, restart everything. Usually it happens like if something like that happens, I'll shut the drone down, I'll shut the controller down, then I'll reboot everything, and usually 99% of the time it's taken care of without any question. What we're going to
build on what Lauren said, I've seen the drone, I've seen the magnetic interference thing and calibrate the compass more often lately than I did, than I had in the past with the Mavic 2 Pro. It asked for a lot more than it used to.
Well, both Ridge Flyer and Tony Faz are saying solar flares.
That was kind of what I was thinking as well, because I've heard of that issue happening a lot over the weekend, and yet the ratings were actually pretty good. So,
well, it was funny because because I'm a ham radio guy, I actually got pinged on one of I get notifications about that. There's a website to go out to that because solar flares are horrible with ham radio. When that stuff hits, it affects almost all the bands. And they said it was like on, I don't know if it was Friday or Saturday it hit, and it was pretty bad on one of those days. So that was not a good day, especially for shortwave. I mean, I'll call, most people think of ham radio as being the long distance kind of stuff. The shortwave bands are affected the most by that. That's just a real quick kind of a thing here. What we're going to do is, in this segment that I wanted to talk about today, was a resurgence for the Mavic 2. And the whole thing, I'm basing this on, we don't get sales information from DJI. Okay, it's known but to Frank Wang and his board of directors. All right, we have no clue. But
maybe you can get Frank on the show sometime and ask him.
I would love to get Frank on the show sometime and ask him. I'm afraid to get Romeo on because I may ask him and he might tell me, and that would not be good for him. We don't want any of that.
We'll make sure Frank's not watching that night.
Yes, absolutely. But one of the things that I've seen lately, and it's really incredible. Ever since the beginning of the year, like about January 1st or so, on any given day, I'm getting anywhere from 50 to probably over 100 people joining my Mavic 2 group every day. Okay. Now, the only reason that I'm saying this is kind of a resurgence is not only that is I'm getting a lot of emails about people. I get a lot of emails every day and a lot of messages on my Facebook groups, but the overwhelming number of messages, it's all been, geared around the Mavic 2 and a lot of questions about buying the Mavic 2 and buying should I get a smart controller with that kind of thing? It's been like a flood lately. I mean, it's just been through the roof. And that group's almost it was like 4,000 like late last year. It's pushing almost 6,000 right now. And with apparently no replacement for it in sight. People are deciding, what? I'm going to go with something that's tried and true and, be very pleased, and they're very pleased with the results. I wanted to open this up to you guys. And what are your guys' thoughts on this?
Well, what I'll say is I don't think you said resurgence. I don't think the Mavic 2 was ever unpopular. And I'll bet Lauren could probably tell us more about that. But I think that thing has been, it has been the number one consumer drone for a while. And every time I fly it, I go, wow, why am I not flying this thing every day? So, That's kind of my 2 bits on it. I think it just remains a top seller because it's just so darn good.
And
great comment,
again,
Marcus. Before I make my comment, I want to shout out my buddy Ray Kelly's in the chat tonight. Ray's down there in Palm Beach, Florida. He does a lot of great little flights with the Mavic Mini. Catches some real nice views of down there of the ships and marinas and little Peanut Island down there. So thanks for joining us tonight, Ray. But to answer Bill's question, yeah, Bill's one that convinced me that I needed the Mavic 2 Pro with the smart controller. And that was the best thing I've ever did. I love the drone, best drone I've ever owned. And it's such a good drone. I don't even feel the need to upgrade it, whatever. Like I know we got the Autel Evo 2 and it's got some great specs, and we were hoping for a Mavic 3 that's not coming this year. But I mean, I'm perfectly satisfied with applying my Mavic 2 Pro. When I go out there, it's nothing I'm lacking. It's nothing. I don't get out there and say, well, I wish I did this or that or the other. And I know people want the 4K 60, and I understand that. But very rarely do I get out there thinking, oh man, if only I had 4K 60, I could have got this great footage. I'm getting great footage without 4K 60. So I am very happy with the drone, and I don't even I don't even care if the Mavic 3 doesn't hit for another year. Lauren, what do you think?
Yep, and that's, if you remember what I was saying earlier, that the sales have not really dropped enough for the Mavic 2 Pro to even for them to consider releasing the Mavic 3. Will we see it this year? Maybe, but quite frankly, until the sales numbers drop, it's not really going to happen. I can see it happening in 2021, almost definitely. But as I said, what more can we add to the Mavic 2 Pro that isn't already there? 4K 60, absolutely, that would be a nice thing. Is it a deal killer to not have it? Nope. Not for most people.
Nope.
No, it isn't. That's a good point, Lauren, because, and I just did a video on, what 4K 60 looks like. And I have some apologies in order. When I uploaded it, okay, and I used DaVinci Resolve, I got it in, and I learned my lesson with Resolve because I'm new to Resolve. After I took the raw feed off the SD card and I put it in there, what I found out was I had to change the frame rate in the video settings to 60 frames per second. Otherwise, it would take what the default was, and the default was 30 frames per second. So the video I put out is at 30 frames per second, but I'm going to redo it. I'm just going to be putting out just a raw video in the next couple of days at 4K 60 frames per second, so people can see what that's like. But the whole other thing, that also is the question of this. All right. Most people shoot, and I know Lauren brought up a good point about the 4K 60, but you know what? And for most of us, when we're looking at YouTube videos, where are we looking at them? 9 times out of 10, we're looking at them on our smartphone. All right. Or whether, you're looking at your Apple, your Android device, or on your tablet, on your iPad or your tablet. Okay. And what are you most often? It's in 1080p. All right. So, and for the most part, it works fantastic. When you start to have to process things in 4K 30 frames per second or 4K 60, it takes an incredible amount of time. My 10-minute stretch of video that I had, it took almost 25 minutes to render last night when I was doing. And this is just not even any kind of ending or beginning, just the raw video itself. That's how long it took to process on there. So, there's a lot of things to take into consideration. With 1080p, it's a no-brainer. You just put it out there and enjoy it. And most of these great shots that I've got, like most of the sunsets that I've got with this and other good scenes, it's in 1080p. So, the need for this 4K 60 frames per second need, it's nice. And it really is nice when you can do it and when it's justified. But, for most people, 1080p is going to suffice. And I think that's one of the things for me, as far as the Mavic 2 Pro, that it does exceptionally well. And I know Ron and I talked about this when back in the old days for Ron, when he was still flying the Mavic Pro. when we were at the beach. And the sunset I was capturing, and then he had his Mavic Pro, and he said, "Take a look." And the difference was out. It was phenomenal looking at the difference between the two, because as Ron pointed out very well, the Mavic Pro is exceptional with the low light, with capturing those low light scenarios. The Mavic Pro, obviously, it wasn't there, and you could see that the difference was really obvious with that. So, there are so many things about the Mavic 2, the way it flies, the way it handles, for me personally, it's my favorite drone. It is so easy to maneuver. When we went out to the tower here over in Tampa, the old water tower, it just handling the orbiting of that, it was so easy to maneuver around there. And to fly and responsive. I can't say enough nice things about that. Really. Any other thoughts on the Mavic?
No, while you're brought that up and you brought your Phantom 4 up, did you see Russ over 51 Drones' latest video where DJI sent him a Phantom 4 Pro V2.0 out? And he never had flown a Phantom 4. He's been a Mavic guy all along. And it was interesting to hear his opinions, because I started out with the Phantom and moved to the Mavic. And he really had some interesting thoughts coming from somebody that never flew a Phantom before. Did you see that, Bill?
Yes, I did see that. I really like Russ. I love his channel. And I was real captivated by that, because I knew exactly what you're saying was, he's been a Mavic guy all along. And then he gets his Phantom 4 Pro, and one of the things that I noticed he really kind of leaned on was the props and the shots. Okay, and that's just a given with the Phantom 4 Pro, and there are so many ways around that. Okay, and one of the things,
fly backwards, and then when you post it, reverse the video and post it, whatever.
Reverse the video and post it. It's the easiest way. Also, it's a matter of speed. It's not necessarily wind that I found out with the Phantom 4 Pro, because I've kind of clocked it, and it's about 16, 17 miles an hour is a safe zone. If you go over that, you're going to start getting props in the shots. Okay.
And actually, it's the windier it is, the slower you have to fly.
Exactly.
And a way to help that, if you put an ND filter on, a lot of the props in the shot are prop shadows. So putting an ND filter on will cut the shadows back a little bit, so you can go a couple miles faster.
And also, if you tweak your gimbal setting just a little, if you nudge it down just a tad, not much, but just a tad, it'll make all the difference in the world with that. So, I could tell he was kind of new, didn't expect that, because, I don't get this with the Mavic 2.
Yeah.
It's one of the things that I saw from him on that. So
actually, the part
Paradenofi, you'll never see the props in your shot with a Paradenofi. There's
no matter how fast you go.
Yeah.
Actually, I found the funniest thing about that was his issues that he had with the cop.
Oh, yeah.
That was cool.
Oh yeah, that was actually that was really funny.
He has a whole video in the cop part too.
Yeah,
I see that one.
About drone regulations, knew absolutely nothing.
That was hilarious. You guys get a chance, check that out. Russ makes me, and I've told him this before. I said, you make me laugh, Russ. You have a great channel, but sometimes it's just some of your videos make me laugh in a good way.
Bill, can I make one comment on the Phantom 4? I get props with you, props and shots and so forth. There's one of the reasons that I sold mine. I thought, why do I? Geez, I would rather fly my Mavic 2 where it's not as big of an issue, and I don't have to worry about it. And that's probably where Russ was coming from as well. I think there's newer drones on the market that's not such a big issue with, and you don't have to do anything extraordinary to avoid it. Just wanted to make that point.
Well, and there's one more thing that I want to close with, and thank you for that, Marcus, is, Russ did talk about the noise factor from the Phantom 4 Pro V2.0. And, he said about 800 feet you could hear it away. And for me, it's about 500 or 600 feet you can hear it, versus like the Mavic 2 Pro, it's probably more like 200 or 300 feet, so as far as the noise factor was concerned, he was saying, there's a difference there, and then there's the obvious difference of the physical size and the portability thing as far as that's concerned. And for me, it's never bothered me about the Phantom 4 Pro. I mean, that's one of the things that I always wanted to get a Phantom 4 Pro, because the first time I flew it was Mel's, and I absolutely loved flying it. Thought it was a joy to fly, and I'm just enamored with it. A side note before we move on to our last topic of the evening is, I heard that you can get better, and I think Ken Heron said this, was you can get better performance out of the regular props on the Phantom 4 Pro. Okay. But if you try to go find regular props, DJI props, okay, they're almost impossible. Good luck. It's almost impossible to find right now. They're not out on the store. They're not on Amazon. It's all aftermarket stuff, and with aftermarket stuff and props, not here. Okay. I'm not going to go there as far as that.
Does Master Airscrew make props for the Phantom?
I don't know that.
Their props are probably going to even be a better quality than DJI's.
Well, yeah, definitely. Well, the last subject that we're gonna touch on is, it's been just over a year that the Smart Controller's been out. All right, and it was one of those things. We knew that it was coming. They announced it. How DJI does their it's out kind of a thing right before CES to kind of garner some of the attention at CES the year before, CES 2019. And, it really caught on very fast. And it got to the point where it was very difficult to find a lot of the time if you were ordering it separately like I did. I didn't get mine until May, and I had to go through a lot of hoops and channels to go ahead and get one at the time, and I actually got it before the prices went up on it. I know Marcus doesn't have one, and I know Ron and I have one. Just want to hear all your thoughts on this. I know Marcus, I know you had the Crystal Sky, and I know you haven't had the Smart Controller. Just want to get your thoughts on the Smart Controller, being it's a year old. What are your thoughts?
Well, my experience with the Smart Controller was in Austin, Texas, when my good friend Ron Brown handed me his controller with his Mavic 2 Pro in the air, and I was very impressed with it. So one of my biggest concerns was, I thought, well, this is going to be big and bulky and difficult to maneuver. Hey, it's easy, and those controls fall right to your hand. But one of the biggest advantages is that really bright display. You can see exactly what you're doing in FPV. So, I mean, I don't know if you remember, Bill, when I had intended to buy one for my Mavic 2 Zoom. They were at $650. Right about the time I was going to pull the trigger, they raised that price to $750, and they became unavailable. So I didn't get one. And I know they're available through B&H and a few other places that I could probably buy one at Best Buy. I'm just not quite willing to spend $750 on it, though. I mean, if I was able to find one for $500 or so, I'd probably pull the trigger. But $750 is just a little bit of a bridge too far for me at this point. Ron Brown.
Thank you, Marcus. It's good thoughts. I want to shout out our buddy FSU grad 03. DeMarc was in the house with us, and I don't see him right now, but Mike Kinney was very active in this chat a few minutes ago. Mike Kinney is another buddy of mine. Mike always tells me I was the first subscriber to his channel. So I want to shout Mike out. But Smart Control, we touched on this a little bit maybe last week or whatever, or one of the shows recently. Yeah, Bill convinced me I needed the Smart Controller. He's exactly right. Now, I didn't have to show out the 650 or the 750 for it because I hadn't bought the Mavic 2 Pro yet. So I purchased the package where you got the drone and the Smart Controller, and that kind of brought the price down to like around $500, really. Of course, I didn't get the standard controller, which, I've been good with. But yeah, Smart Controller, number one reason I love it is that screen. I don't need any type of shade or monitor. I can see the screen in the bright daylight in the middle of the day. The glare is no issue anymore. And number two, I don't have to attach my phone anymore, so it's quicker to get started. I'm not connected wires and all that. So my phone stays in my pocket, or it films the drone event could be my camera rather than my operating device. But it's a couple downsides. The updates, like the Go 4 app doesn't get updated as quick on there, and sometimes you have to force the updates. It's a couple cons, but the positives far outweigh the cons. And I'm going to throw it over to Lauren. I don't believe Lauren has the Smart Control, but I'm sure he's seen one and familiar with it.
Oh, very. Actually, first question to Marcus: you still have your Crystal Sky or not?
I didn't. I sold it, and I'll tell you why, Lauren. It was a little bit laggy. There were times that it seemed to work pretty good, and other times I got some lag with it. So I just wasn't worth it to me.
It's funny because I love my Crystal Sky. The smart remote, good, but unfortunately for the type of flying that I do, that's just too small a screen. I need a bigger screen. If I'm doing close-in flying, which I do a lot of, where I've got maybe an inch on either side of the drone, you've got to be able to make sure that you can see what you think you see. So my preference is the bigger screen. The smart remote, is it good? Absolutely. There's nothing wrong with it. And there may be a sequel coming.
Ooh. Ooh.
There we go. Right there.
Save your money up, Marcus.
Save your nickel. Get that piggy bank on there. Some of my thoughts on the Smart Controller. Okay, down in Florida, I think it's invaluable because I was so impressed, and I shot a video. I did a series of videos on the Smart Controller, and I tried to get across, even in the bright sunlight, because after noon, 12 o'clock noon, the sun's in the back of the house. The back of my house faces west, and it's very bright back there. And the Florida sun, it is hot and it is bright. And I can tell you something without a doubt, I could see the clear details on that screen, like absolutely like nobody's business, and having everything there is just absolutely phenomenal. The ease of use of that. I also had the added benefit of being and Lauren, I don't know if you knew this or not, I was one of the beta testers for the Smart Controller with the Phantom 4 Pro V2.0 because, with the Smart Controller, you need to have an aircraft that has OcuSync 2.0, and the Phantom 4 Pro V2.0 has that. And I have to say this, controlling the Phantom 4 Pro V2.0 with a Smart Controller, it's like night and day. I mean, I like the regular controller, but I got to tell you this: with those sticks, it is just your movements are precise with that. It was just phenomenal. And I pinged DJI support on that, and I said, this has been out. This beta version's been out since June. What are you guys going to do on this? And they basically they said, they really kind of gave me an answer, which really wasn't an answer. They said, we don't have any plans at this time, kind of a thing. And I said, and I replied back again, this was out there beta testing, and, there was never, again, it was the same kind of a response. So evidently, that's not in their playbook right now. But, thinking about this, and I ran this by Ron once, and, I said, wouldn't it make sense? And I think Marcus was involved with this too. Wouldn't it make sense for them to go ahead and add this update onto the controller? Because it would help spur sales for not only the Smart Controller, but the Phantom 4 Pro V2.0 kind of a thing, and, it makes a lot of sense for them to do this, but, who knows? I think one of my gripes and one of my things about the Smart Controller is the DJI Go 4 app is not updatable through the Smart Controller itself. When you do a firmware update, it doesn't update the app. David from Kluge Tech Time put out an excellent video on how to do it, and there's a process and a procedure to do that, which I think is a real pain in the butt. But and again, and Lauren knows this stuff. That's another pain point. I mean, that to me, that's the biggest pain point is getting that DJI Go 4 app updated on the Smart Controller. It's like, let's get a pair of pliers and get that bad tooth out, kind of a thing. It's just horrible. It really is.
Yeah, agreed. And that's been kind of my complaint as well. Their operating system, they're still running on 5.5. So you can't even add the Fly app to it because you need at least Android 6.0.
Yeah.
So, you know, and that's pretty sad that this is a DJI item that can't even operate some of their software. So, yeah. Gripe has been noted, and I've also complained about it as well. So
yeah, I've passed that on to DJI support several times, and you know, thank you for your concern. You know, we'll look at this kind of a nice message back, but still, it's like, oh, it's like you have a great device here for me. You know, and the other thing is, and I would say it's probably my second least favorite thing. Lauren's right about the screen size. The screen size on that, you know, it is kind of on the smaller side. It's not as good as my iPad Mini 4 when I'm using that. That's my preferable method of doing it. But, you know, all in all, you know, I like the Smart Controller. And I think Billy Kyle did a video on a setup, you know, going out with a Smart Controller versus going out with just, you know, the regular controller on it, you know, time wise. And it was just, it's so much faster. I was able to get that wonderful sunset that I got last year by, you know, it was literally one of the ones I came home, grabbed the Smart Controller, grabbed the Mavic 2, you know, boom. I was within 2 or 3 minutes. I was up in the air. I mean, it was just, it's lightning fast. That's one of the good things about this. So
actually, I find that's kind of strange because like I've kind of Frankensteined my Mavic 2 controller so I can use my my Crystal Sky with it, and I can be up in the air in under a minute.
Wow. Okay.
So,
you know, yeah, you know, that's good. Yeah. See, you know, and I assume you have it all set up, right?
Oh yeah. And like
normally
the Crystal Sky adapter doesn't work with the Mavic 2. You have to modify the adapter a little bit so that the Crystal Sky adapter actually works. Because like I don't use a patch cord or anything. I use the actual DJI Crystal Sky adapter, and you know, it's nice because there's no cords or anything like that. It's just snap, it's on, right? And first thing I do is just power on the Crystal Sky. At the same time, then I power on the thing. And by the time my drone is up and running, I'm ready to fly. And like I say, so under a minute.
Wow, so that's great. Yeah. That's Lauren, you know, we love having you on because you tell us these wonderful, pieces of wisdom here to pass on to us. You know, we really
real quick while we're on that.
I just learned stuff too, man.
I got a quick question for Lauren. I saw it in the chat. Somebody was asking if the Mavic 2, we'll say the Mavic 2 series, do they work with the DJI goggles?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
All right. Well, you know, that kind of wraps up the topics for tonight. And just want to go around and share final thoughts. Marcus, go ahead and lead us off here.
Hey, I just had a fun flight this afternoon out at the park with the little DJI Mavic Mini. I just am always amazed at the price point on that drone and how well it flies and how well everything just works on it. Boy, if you're somebody that's sitting on the fence and thinking about a Mavic Mini, it is just a barrel full of fun. I sure had fun flying it today. And yeah, that's about it. Ron.
Thank you, Marcus. And remember, I found that Mavic Mini for $299 on Woot early yesterday morning, but it was sold out by the time I got to check the site. But I put a video up about just a couple hours ago. I made a video back in December where I when I first got the Mavic Mini, I was trying to use it with the Apple Mini, I said Mini 4 iPad. And I just did it to desk, but a lot of people wanted me to fly. So yesterday I went out and flew with that configuration, and it worked great. I had no like overload issues or processor overloads, and I even did a screenshot while I was flying, screen recording while I was flying it, and no problems at all. So on the current versions, we're now on the drone and the iPad Mini 4 software-wise, they're completely compatible, and it worked great together. So for a lot of people have been asking me to do that video, so I finally got that thing out. So go over, check it out at Ron Brown's YouTube channel if you're interested, and I'm going to throw it to Lauren.
Yeah, a couple of things. One, I'm going to really digress. Back to the filters. Really digress. How's that? But yeah, the lens flare can be hugely affected by your lens coatings. And I'm proud to say I just received $250 worth of brand new Polar Pro custom filters. And boy, do those make a difference. Like with your lens flare, with the coatings that they have on there, huge difference. Now, let's go forward to the Mavic Mini. As you're probably well aware that the shipments have started resuming from China on the DJI stuff. And the strange thing is, as fast as it's coming in, it's going out. Sold 30 Mavic Minis in one day. How's that?
Wow.
And that was not looking after back orders. That was just, we had just said, well, we've got Mavic Minis in today, and 30 of them were gone in one day.
Gosh.
So, yeah, they're a good ticket item. And it's funny because people are more and more realizing just how wonderful this little 249 grams of heaven is.
True that.
I love how you put that, Lauren. That was 249 grams of heaven. I mean, that's just that leaves me speechless. I think that's one of the highlights of the evening here. Okay, 249 grams of heaven. And Lauren's right. I mean, really. I mean, it really is. I want to thank, first of all, I want to thank Marcus and Ron, and I want to thank Lauren for showing up tonight. Really appreciate your input on everything, guys. It's tremendous. Had a wonderful chat. Everyone in the chat was fantastic tonight. You guys asked lots of great questions, brought up lots of great points. We talked about a number of things. The Zeno 2 woes with, not only the shipping, but with the camera, and like we said, let's wait, let's get them in our hands and let's take a look at them. We also talked about I called it Resurgence of the Mavic 2, but it's never really, let's say an up spike of interest in the Mavic 2. It's been up more than it's been down, which I think is absolutely fantastic. And then also too, as Lauren just alluded to, the Mavic Mini, it's never really stopped being popular. It's fantastic to hear this kind of news, and then also too, talking about the Smart Controller and what a difference it's made. I know in my flying experience, I know with Ron as well too, and for a lot of people, it's been absolutely fantastic. And, and also on a couple other notes, we do know that, Rodney Bell had surgery. I don't know. We didn't get any.
He did. I got an update. He didn't have it today. It's pushed back until Thursday now, I believe.
Oh, okay. Okay. Thanks, Ron.
He didn't have it, and it may have gone to triple bypass surgery.
Okay.
So
okay.
I don't know if this is good news or bad news, but it didn't happen today.
Okay. All right. Well, that's good. Thank you, Ron, for that update. And we're also thinking about the coronavirus. And in all seriousness, it's something, you need to take it seriously. You need to use precautions, use common sense. Think about what you're doing, and give our thoughts and prayers to those that are affected by this. In China, especially, it's very heavy. And it overrides drones or getting goods from China back and forth. It's people, and it's what people are what matters. It comes. It's way more important than drone talk or anything else. We're hoping for good health for people. We're hoping that this can be eradicated and taken care of to where it's not a threat globally. Right now, it still is a threat globally, and just use precautions, use common sense. Take the advice of what kills it. Especially if you're getting packages from China. Like Lysol it, or get some wipes and wipe it down, that kind of a thing. Just take some proper precautions when you do that, and I think that'll definitely go a long ways here. Gentlemen, thank you so much for your valuable input. Thank you everyone who was in the chat tonight. Really appreciate that. And as always, remember, everyone, it's a great day to fly. Take care, everybody.